Nearly 2/3 of women over the age of 45 experience weight gain during menopause. But does menopause cause the weight gain? Why do so many women develop a menopausal middle even if they eat well and exercise? Is it just hormonal fluctuations that affect weight gain, or is it something more? Today, Lindsay and I are diving into the real reasons behind this menopausal weight gain, and more importantly, particular strategies that you can use to combat this. Trust me, there are some surprising factors at play that you need to know about. So if you're wondering why those extra pounds just won't budge, you're in the right place.
Absolutely. This is a topic that affects so many females, and we constantly get questions about it in our forum. I'm so excited today to share what we've learned about the topic. So Shona, firstly, let's talk about what really causes this weight gain that takes place during menopause. Is it really just about diet and not moving?
Great question, Lindsay. And really, it's such a complicated answer. It's got to do with psychological, physiological, and mental factors as well. And so it's not just a simple menopause equals weight gain. One of the big factors is the changes and the fluctuations in estrogen, eventually that drop in estrogen. When females start losing that estrogen, it actually affects their hunger, and they tend to get hungrier more often.
So Shona, it's basically like your body's hunger signals are just completely out of whack.
Yeah, 100%, Linz, that is exactly right. But of course, there's definitely more to this. Your basal metabolic rate tends to drop as you go through menopause. What that means is the amount of energy that your body is using while you're sitting here essentially goes down through menopause. How that happens is that we lose lean muscle mass consistently as we age. And because muscles essentially utilize fuel or energy, when we lose that muscle mass, our basal metabolic rate also goes down. And so you're essentially utilizing less fuel just sitting at rest.
Wow, that makes sense. So it's not just about the food menopausal females eat, it's also about the changing metabolism.
Oh, Linz, actually, that has been debunked recently. There's a school of thought that as we go through menopause, your metabolism slows down. And actually, that has been recently debunked in the literature to say that your metabolism actually only slows down from the age 60 onwards, so not during the menopause period.
Okay, that's pretty interesting, Shona, but really, what can be done about this?
Well, good question, Linz. And you'd think that because we are actively a running channel, you would think that I would be saying that running is the answer. But as much as running is good for cardiovascular health and general health as we age and going to help with some of that longevity, it is not necessarily going to be the thing that's going to help you to lose weight. Especially if you don't enjoy running, then you need to find an activity that you do enjoy so that you can stay consistent with that.
Okay, Shona. So what can actually be done?
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritties essentially. There are two things that can be done. And the first one has got to do with that basal metabolic rate that I spoke about earlier. And how do we increase that basal metabolic rate? We do that by doing strength training, by building more muscles within your body. And so in particular, not just any kind of strength training, we want to do resistance training so that we really get an increase in lean muscle mass over time. And as a result, because you have more muscles, you will essentially be using more calories at rest, and so that basal metabolic rate will go up.
Wow, so strength training really is important. In fact, it's so important that Shona's put together a strength program specifically for menopausal and postmenopausal females, and I'll drop that into the discussion so that you can download that plan and do it at home. Now that we know how important that is, how many times a week and what should they be doing to improve that strength and muscle mass?
Linz, we're looking at 2 to 3 strength sessions a week. The scientific literature is very clear that if you are getting 3 strength sessions in a week, not only can you reduce that loss of lean muscle mass, but you can actually reverse it. I've said that sentence so many times that I actually have to go back and say, well, think about that. You can actually get stronger than what you are now by doing 3 sessions a week. We're realists here at Coach Perry, though. We know that 3 isn't always ideal with life and kids and careers and all sorts happening. And so we have a saying or mantra here that 3 is ideal, but 2 is better than 1, and 1 is always going to be better than none. The nice thing about strength training is not only is it going to help you manage your weight, but it's also going to help keep you injury-free for running specifically as well.
That's amazing. So we've covered quite well then strength training. What's the second thing that menopausal women can do to fight this menopausal weight gain?
The next thing is nutrition. Utilizing nutrition well within your training and your daily life to manage essentially the calories in versus the calories out. You want to make sure that we are managing that you're not exercising more necessarily for the amount of calories you're taking in. And really, if we're wanting to manage our weight and lose weight, we have to find ourselves in some form of calorie deficit. This equation, however, just goes a little bit further, and it's not just as simple as this plus this equals that. We have to start taking into account your basal metabolic rate that we spoke about. We also take into account what is called thermic effects of food. So essentially what your body utilizes to digest your food, and then your two types of movement. So one is conscious movement. That's your running exercise, your strength exercise, your yoga. And then the second one is also the movement that you do that you're not conscious of. So walking from your house to the car or walking along the shops and all of those things as well. And so that whole equation has to be taken into account. So it's your basal metabolic rates, that thermic effect of digesting food, and your exercise and your non-conscious movements essentially becomes the calories in and out and how to manage that entire process.
That's so interesting, Shona. But I have clients that talk to me and say that they are exercising more, but they are still not losing weight.
I know, and it's quite frustrating, I'm sure, but the amount of studies that are out there show that they're not. They're not exercising more because they're probably pretty tired from feeling fatigued and hot flashes and general life. So they're probably not exercising more, and definitely they are not moving more within the day, that unconscious movements. And give you a simple example. Before I worked here at Coach Perry, I used to work at the university, and we're out and about on the field all day testing, in the gym, moving with athletes. And now, as I'm getting in the last 10 years, my job is seated. I'm a lot more sedentary in my job. I'm sitting behind a computer. And so I think if you really analyze the amount of movement you do in the day, you will find that you're moving less as you're getting older.
Wow, Shona, that has been flippin' educational. You haven't mentioned anything about hormones though. Do hormones play a role in any of this?
Linz, it's such a great question because the science shows that there is an increase in body fat percentage for females over the age of 40 or 45. So we just assume that that's because of hormonal changes and because of menopause. But actually, it was really interesting. They did a study where they followed females over a 6 to 10 year period. And most of those females did show a little bit of a loss of lean muscle mass over time. But the females who stayed consistent with their strength training plan and their other training plans, but predominantly their strength training plan, did not have that increase in body fat percentage. So that then suggests that it's not hormonal. So if you're continuing with your strength training through the ages of 40, 45, 50, some females who don't continue, they will get the increase in body fat, but those who have their strength training plan don't increase in body fat percentage. They actually stay the same, if not went down. So again, taking that hormonal aspect out and putting it more on the fact of something that's in your control, which is what I really like about that. We always can say, oh, well, we're blaming the hormones as to why we're gaining weight. But now you've got something that is in your control, i.e. some strength training to help you manage this process.
Okay, so if I'm just getting clear in my head, what you're saying is that the hormones don't impact weight during menopause.
I know I sound like I'm going back and forth here. So no, the hormones don't necessarily impact that body fat gain, but your hormones are going to impact your life as a female going through menopause. You are going to feel tired and fatigued. You're going to have night sweats or hot flashes. It's going to affect your sleep. And so as a result, you're probably not going to want to train. And so the hormones, while they may not have a direct correlation to gaining weight, they will essentially have a correlation to your ability to want to exercise or the amount of exercise that you're doing. So there is still a hormonal effect on your desire for exercise and your wanting to exercise, but not necessarily a direct correlation to that increase in fat gain.
So to sum it up, Menopausal weight gain is about more than simply diet and exercise. It's about understanding the changes that are taking place in your body now, and strength training and nutrition are essential as part of that solution.
Exactly. And now that you know that it's not downhill from here, how do you practically apply this into your training? I am hosting a free web class called the Running Through Menopause Masterclass. You can save your spot by clicking on the link on screen now. In it, I'll show you exactly how to recover from sessions quicker so that you don't feel fatigued and tired all the time, and how to run well to and through menopause.